my sister, Claire, banned my kids from her wedding. After 2 years of silence, she showed up with gifts because she couldn't have children herself, due to the possibility that my children might create discomfort. Claire did not invite me to her wedding. After being infertile for 2 years, she unexpectedly arrived at my door with gifts. My 11-year-old twin boys, Noah and Ethan, who are on the autism spectrum, are my 38 degrees Fahrenheit. To provide a stable atmosphere for our children, my spouse, Liam, and I have put in a ton of effort. They are wonderful children who simply require a little more help and tolerance than most. We've faced our fair share of difficulties, including grocery store meltdowns, that one awful school play, Don't Ask, and the ongoing struggle to obtain appropriate accommodations from the school district. But for the most part, we've worked it out. When I was little, Claire and I were finishing each other's sentences. We exchanged secrets, clothes, and everything else. When I discovered I was pregnant, I phoned her first. I supported her through every breakup, career problem, and other situation. When my boys were diagnosed, she was present, or she seemed to be. She sat with me as I sobbed and brought over lasagna. About 5 years ago, she met her now husband, James, and things began to change. He's from an important family of some sort. They're merely wealthy and well-connected. They're not very significant. They act as though they're royalty because his dad served on the local council years ago or something. Over time, Claire began spending more time with James's friends and family, which caused us to postpone our plans, the typical drift. Then it became every weekend. Initially, it was just, oh, James's mom invited us for dinner, or James's friends are having a thing. Then they became the subject of every call. The boys took note. They would inquire why their aunt had stopped visiting. I didn't want them to feel rejected, so I fabricated excuses. I told them she was either traveling or working. I detest lying to my children, but what could I have said? Your new boyfriend thinks you're weird, so your aunt doesn't want to deal with you, because that's how it seemed. I was pleased for her when they got engaged. I really was. I sent a card, flowers, and other things. She gave me a strange look and said, "I'll think about it." But she never mentioned it again when I asked if she wanted me to assist with wedding plans. I assumed she was occupied or something. I still purchased a dress because I thought I would somehow attend the wedding. I still have the tags on it, and it hangs in my closet. Then one day, while browsing Facebook, yes, I still use it. Don't judge me, I came upon a ton of photos from her wedding. I was not invited to the wedding. Not only was I not invited as a guest, but I wasn't even in the wedding party. My parents were present. There were our cousins, even a few high school acquaintances she hardly speaks to anymore. Not me, though. Not my spouse. And certainly not my children. I called her right away, and to my astonishment, she did respond. She hesitated for a moment before saying that her in-laws didn't want any disruptions at the wedding, and that my children would cause discomfort when I questioned her about what the hell happened. She claimed that although she fought really hard to include us, she ultimately gave in because she didn't want any controversy, and it was her special day. It's like my children are living drama machines. I was standing in my kitchen, looking at the dumb refrigerator magnet she had gotten me from her trip the previous year, and I can still clearly recall where I was when she said it. Sisters Forever was inscribed on it. While we were still on the phone, I removed it and tossed it in the garbage. I assumed my parents would be as indignant as I was, so I contacted them next. Not at all. In fact, they stood up for her, stating that I should make an effort to comprehend her viewpoint, and that sometimes difficult decisions must be made. Perhaps it was for the best, because my dad even dared to comment that such activities can be too stressful for my boys, anyhow, as though they're more knowledgeable than I am about what's best for my children, as though we haven't been organizing activities and excursions for years. I realized then that this was nothing new. My cousin's children were always treated differently than my boys, less excitement and fewer birthday gifts. They brought my kids educational toys to help with their development. They would take my niece to the zoo, but said my boys might not enjoy that kind of thing. They also bought my nephew a drum set for a 4-year-old, and then I blocked them all. I changed my phone number and moved across town. This sped up the process, but we had already planned to relocate since we needed a house with a better layout for the boys. Liam was totally on board. If it's possible, he was even more enraged than I was. In any case, he never really got along with my family, because they always treated him as though he wasn't good enough since he works with his hands. God forbid someone chooses to work as a carpenter rather than spend their days in an office. We created a brand new existence with friends who genuinely care about our family. We discovered a parent support group for children with autism. As a result, we became acquainted with other families. Our neighbors invite us to their barbecues, and they don't care if one of my children has to take a quiet period or wear noise-canceling headphones, just regular folks who treat my children like children. You know, it was more than 2 years ago. Sincerely, I believe that chapter of my life was over. Occasionally, mutual friends would post about them, but I would simply scroll past them, immediately following the wedding. I learned through rumors that Claire was attempting to conceive, immediately starting a family or whatever. Well done, I thought. She can have the ideal neurotypical small family that she's always desired. Then, unexpectedly, my dad, Mum, and Claire arrived at our front door yesterday, gift bags included, with these phony smiles too. I inquired how they discovered our address, a really unsettling question that was disregarded. Really, none of our mutual acquaintances would have given it to them without first asking me, and we weren't on the list. They probably hired someone or something, which further adds to the strangeness of the situation. Immediately, Claire broke down in tears, which is often her first reaction, and expressed how much she missed the boys and me. My mother said they had given it a lot of thought and had come to see their error. My dad was about to say something, but just stood there, looking uneasy, shifting his weight from foot to foot like he used to do when we were kids. Then Claire revealed the shocking news that she and James have been unsuccessfully trying for a child for the past 2 years. After a series of unsuccessful fertility procedures, she's now re-evaluating the true meaning of family. As if reading from a Hallmark card, she said that same line. She discussed how James's family is pressuring them to continue the family name, despite the fact that they've seen 3 doctors and undergone IVF twice. For a minute, I just stared at them, trying to take it all in. My mother was nodding in agreement, as if it were the most intriguing thing she had ever heard. My dad was studying our porch light. Claire continued to ramble endlessly about how she had a revelation about what's really important in life. Then I told them exactly what I had assumed, that they're settling for my relationship since they're unable to have their ideal small family and only want a relationship right now. When they kicked my boys out of a family gathering because of what they were, they showed no concern for them. But my children are suddenly good enough now that my dearest Claire is unable to have her own. My father attempted to interrupt me, saying something like, "That's not fair," but I had already finished. My children aren't emotional support animals that they can ignore and then pick up whenever it's convenient. I informed them. They were treated as though they were flawed, which damaged them as human beings. I reminded them that we used to get together every Sunday for dinner, but that invitation abruptly stopped when Claire began seeing James. At that point, my mother broke down in tears, accusing me of being unkind and claiming they had learned their lesson. Claire simply looked at me as if I had smacked her, which, to be honest, I had almost done. She kept reaching for this gift bag, as though it would make everything better. Out of the top, I could see a nice toy of some sort, just the kind of item that would overstimulate one of my boys and make them lose it. They couldn't even recall their basic characteristics. They should take their guilt gifts with them. I advised them. I closed the door after that. I could hardly turn the latch since my hands were shaking so much. However, the presents were left outside my door. Afterward, I tossed them in the garage. I informed Liam what had happened when he arrived downstairs after hearing the commotion. Even though he indicated I made the proper decision, I'm now questioning it. The problem is that, over the years, my boys have inquired about their aunt and grandparents on a few occasions. I know they remember them, even though it's not often. I sometimes question whether I'm denying my children family ties out of animosity. However, I also believe that allowing these individuals to return to our lives will only prepare my children for future rejection. What happens if Claire does, in fact, become pregnant? Will she abandon us once more? Will my parents once again treat my children as inferior? I haven't mentioned the visit to the boys. Thank God it happened while they were visiting a friend's house. At the last minute, I switched shifts with a coworker. I was only at home because of that when they arrived here. Am I the asshole? For the sake of my children, Should I have at least listened to them? Update. Holy cow. I had no idea this would go so out of control. I appreciate all of the support and comments. I will miss my inbox. However, a number of you misinterpreted certain points, so allow me to clarify. First, neither of my boys is severely autistic. They occasionally struggle with social cues and have certain sensory difficulties, but with the right planning, they can definitely handle a wedding. They've attended past events without any problems. That was merely a pretext. Actually, one of them is really quiet and spends most of his time sitting and playing his games. The other one is more active, but if you explicitly explain the rules, he complies quite nicely. Unless you consider any youngster who isn't completely silent to be disruptive, they aren't. Second, for those who said, well, maybe they really have changed, you weren't there. My sister's expression when discussing her infertility problems was not visible to you. Re-establishing contact with family wasn't the goal. She wanted what she was unable to have. When I gave her a toy she desired as a child, she used to get the same expression. Third, no, they didn't offer an apology. Nobody said I'm sorry once in their little speech. It was all about their feelings and desires, how difficult things were for them, how it would be good for them to reconnect, nothing about the harm they had caused, or how my children were impacted by their behavior. Fourth, someone inquired about Liam's family. They live on the opposite side of the nation, so although we video chat on holidays and they send birthday cards, they aren't really involved on a daily basis. That's significant though, because they've never been strange about the boy's autism. Fifth, to the individual who sent me a private message accusing me of exploiting my children's disabilities as a justification for my anger, please go fetch yourself. You don't know what we've endured. Anyway, a lot has transpired since my post. Claire has been constantly messaging me, more sobbing and guilt-tripping. At first, she's acting rudely, now accusing me of being immature and punishing her for one mistake, one error. They ignored my family for 2 years after excluding us all from a significant life event. That's a sequence of intentional decisions, not a single error. At around 2 a.m. she also sent this strange text expressing her desire to be an aunt and her envy of my motherhood journey. Who speaks in such a manner? It seems so staged and manufactured. This same person, when she would come over, would ask me to make the boys wait in a different room because she found their stimming bothersome. I didn't answer when my parents called, either, since I assumed it was them. In their voicemail, they stated they'd like to meet in a neutral setting and talk things over like adults. To avoid having their previous numbers blocked, they apparently changed their numbers or something. Liam believes they're also full of it, and I did wind up telling him everything they said. He brought to mind how, when our boys were first diagnosed, rather than genuinely offering assistance or making an effort to understand, my parents kept sending us papers about cures and recommending we try various diets or other things. I had nearly forgotten about it. Or when my mother, in a loud whisper, explained to a waitress that my kid wasn't being impolite when he didn't respond to her inquiry, he's just autistic, as if it were some embarrassing secret. Especially after the diagnosis, Claire would use this phony, sympathetic voice to comment on how hard having twins must be. Will they ever be able to live independently? She'd wonder about 4-year-olds. Who asks that about a 4-year-old? Even neurotypical children can't live on their own at 4. I'm still unsure how to inform my children. I assumed I had hidden all of them, but one of them discovered a gift bag they'd left behind and inquired about its origin. I simply put it away, saying it was from an old friend. Lying to my children makes me uncomfortable, but I also don't want to raise their expectations about people who might vanish in the future. Lately, they've been doing incredibly well. A few of you asked if I'd think about family therapy with them. Perhaps I will, but I'm just trying to take it all in right now, to escape all this drama. Liam proposed we go on a family vacation next month, which sounds like a wonderful idea at the moment. A few hours away, there's a location with cabins beside a lake. On one school excursion, the boys went there and had a great time. Oh, and strangely, yesterday I received a friend request on Facebook from one of my mum's acquaintances, with whom I haven't spoken in years. They're probably attempting to obtain information now via other means. Of course, I ignored it. I may provide another post if something noteworthy occurs, but for the time being, I'm attempting to concentrate on my real family, the individuals who have been here continuously. Second update, All right, about a week has passed since everything happened, and certain things have occurred. I didn't intend to post again so quickly, but I need to vent because things keep happening. To begin with, I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone who left a comment offering practical guidance, rather than simply labeling me resentful. Well, okay, I'm resentful. Would you not be? To answer your question, I haven't examined the gifts they brought. However, before publishing this update, I did investigate them. They remained seated in the garage for the time being. On Tuesday, Claire arrived at my place of employment. She just happened to walk in as I was working my part-time job at this little office. It's still really creepy, and I don't know how she found out where I work. I didn't want to make a scene in front of my co-workers, so I escorted her outside. We were in the parking lot, and anyone might see us. So even though I was angry, I attempted to keep my voice down. She began her speech by saying she's been doing a lot of soul searching and that learning she's unable to have children has put things in perspective for her. Then, using the same strange whisper, as if it were a secret, she began discussing how James has evolved in his thinking on special needs children. None of it sounded real, so I just stood there, wondering if she was reading from a script, as she normally does when she's lying. She kept checking her phone during the conversation. She used to do that when we were teenagers, making up reasons why she couldn't do something with me. She then went straight to the point. She wants to show them what a real family looks like by taking the boys and me to James's family's major reunion in a few months. She genuinely expressed her desire to demonstrate to them the extraordinary potential of exceptional children, as if my kids are some sort of inspirational porn for her in-laws. Then something clicked. This has nothing to do with getting back in touch with us. She's doing this to brag to her in-laws about having any sort of relationship with her nephews, as if we're accessories in her life narrative. For example, my children are a backup plan or consolation reward because she's unable to have her own. I walked away after telling her I had to return to work. You need to stop living in the past, she called after me. It's rich, coming from someone who, after her initial goal failed, now just wants a relationship for the remainder of my shift. I was trembling. My boss was kind enough to notice and let me leave early. The problem is, if they had demonstrated any awareness of their mistakes, I might have thought about allowing them to re-enter gradually. However, they continue to treat my children as though they're unique or special or something, not just children who should be accorded the bare minimum of respect. They continue to focus on themselves and their requirements. After that, I ended up answering my mum's phone call yesterday from a new number I didn't recognize. She said I'm being too harsh on Claire, who is inconsolable. Did you think it was wrong to exclude us from the wedding? I asked her directly. She merely mentioned complicated situations and doing what seemed best at the time, without providing a precise response. She eventually acknowledged that she felt the wedding wasn't an appropriate setting for children with issues. She said exactly that, referred to them as children with issues, without even mentioning their names or recognizing them as her grandchildren. I ended the call. I've had enough of excuses and non-apologies. The suggestion that my children are inferior to other youngsters has been dropped. I'm tired of the way they skirt the true problem, which is that they're ashamed of my children and only want a relationship now that their situation has changed. After school today, Liam took the boys out for ice cream, and I finally got around to looking into those gift bags. It was just what I had anticipated: generic items that demonstrated a complete lack of familiarity with my children. Things that are completely out of their age range or unrelated to their hobbies. One of the bags had a card and a check for a sizable sum of money, just the check, no note. They seemed to be attempting to re-enter our lives through financial means. I tore it to shreds. Their money is not necessary for us. For 2 years, we've been getting by just fine without it. Regarding my boys, I finally had a conversation with them last night and gave them the straightforward explanation that they haven't seen their grandparents or aunt in a long time, since family members don't always treat one another properly. I didn't try to sway them or go into specifics. When one of them inquired if they'd meet them again, I replied, maybe someday, but not right now. I believe they don't remember as much about my family as I thought they did, because they seem to take it really readily. When you're 11.2 years is a long time. One of them said he recalled how delicious Grandma's cookies were. The other claimed he didn't enjoy the smell coming from Grandpa's house. It did smell like mothballs. They then inquired about their ability to play video games, and that was that. I believe that was the best course of action. It appeared to be acceptable to them. On social media today, Claire shared a cryptic post about forgiving people who don't know how to accept love or something similar. Many family members used heart emojis in their comments. In their view of events, I suppose I'm the antagonist, I'm good with that. So, yes, that's the current situation. Am I still the asshole? Perhaps. However, I'd much rather be a jerk than allow my children to be used as emotional band-aid solutions to cover up someone else's sadness. Third update. I didn't intend to provide another update so quickly, but circumstances have become worse, and I'm still dealing with the fallout. Do you recall how I said? Claire shared that ambiguous post on social media. Evidently, she's been posting far more frequently than that. I received screenshots of things Claire has been saying about me online from a mutual acquaintance who's one of the only people who hasn't taken sides. In essence, she's portraying herself as a grieving aunt who merely wants to get back in touch with her nephews and me, this vengeful person using my children as weapons. She's even using the hashtag #AuntLove or something similar. She's disclosing details about my children, including their ages, the fact that they have autism, and even some old pictures of them, which greatly aggravates me, all for her naive supporters' compassion points. I'm thinking about filing a lawsuit since I feel my privacy has been violated. My children didn't request to be part of her social media, but hold on, things get better or worse. The school called me yesterday to report that my parents had arrived, attempting to visit the boys. They wanted to surprise them at lunch, so they told the office they were the grandparents. Fortunately, the school phoned me right away because they weren't on the authorized pickup list. I've never been more appreciative of school security measures. I immediately lost my shit and called my parents. I threatened to obtain a restraining order if they attempted something similar in the future. My dad tried to excuse it, claiming they didn't think it was a big issue and just wanted to see the boys. Is it not a huge problem to arrive at an elementary school without warning? How could that be considered normal behavior? My mother called later and began sobbing once more, stating they were in a difficult situation and had run out of options. I advised them to accept my boundaries for the first time in their lives as an alternative. I hung up and gave my friend a call to ask for guidance regarding restraining orders. I had to leave work early once more to speak with the school principal and ensure they were aware of the circumstances. She was very encouraging and promised to add a note about unapproved visitors to the boys' files. I felt like I was involved in some strange custody dispute, only this time the parties involved had no legitimate claim to my children. Then, at about 8 p.m. last night, the doorbell rang. When I peered through the peephole, James Claire's husband was standing there, not Claire, not my parents, her spouse, the same man who believed my children were unworthy of attending his priceless wedding. I didn't open the door but yelled at him to go, or I'd call the police. Without a word, he pushed an envelope under the door and walked away. It contained a formal letter from him, apologizing for any misunderstandings and describing how his marriage had changed him as a person. There was also another check, larger than the previous one, with "for the boy's future" written in the memo line as if we needed his kindness. It seemed as though a public relations team wrote the entire thing. Nothing concrete about what he did wrong or why it hurt us, just generalizations about family bonds and second chances. When I showed it to Liam, he laughed and remarked, "This guy still doesn't get it, does he? All this is wearing me out. They seem to be deliberately wearing me down, as if they believe if they persist, I'll ultimately give in." The boys have also noticed how stressed I am. I sat them both down and assured them we wouldn't be leaving, that they were secure, and they didn't have to be concerned. I clarified that adult arguments can sometimes take time to resolve. I was straightforward and comforting. They appeared to be fine after that. However, I detest that they're even being impacted by this. Liam suggested we keep a record of everything that occurs, in case we need legal protection. I've started documenting all contact attempts, saving voicemails and texts, capturing screenshots of Claire's posts, and similar activities. It seems excessive, but so is showing up at someone's workplace or their children's school. My current strategy is to keep avoiding them as much as I can, while keeping my family safe. I've changed my email password just in case, blocked and locked Claire's new social media accounts, and updated all our emergency contacts with people we truly trust. I still don't know if I'm doing this correctly. I suppose my current query is, how can I shield my children from all this drama without having them feel as though a significant secret is being withheld from them? And, regardless of how much soul-searching the other person professes to have done, am I mistaken in believing that some relationships are simply too broken to be repaired? Fourth update. My last update was a couple of weeks ago. I haven't felt the need to update because things have finally settled down a bit, but I thought I should wrap this up for those who've been following along and given support. First of all, we appreciate all your notes asking how we're doing. Even if they've never met me or my children, it means a lot to know there are individuals who can relate to my situation following the school incident. I had my friend's attorney assist me in writing a formal cease and desist letter to Claire and my parents. Although it doesn't have the same legal force as a restraining order, it provides documentation in case the situation worsens. The letter threatened legal action for any more unexpected visits to our house, my workplace, or the children's school. Interestingly, it appears to have been successful. To the best of my knowledge, Claire has stopped sharing information about us on social media, and there have been no more unexpected visits. In a brief email, my parents acknowledged receiving the letter and stated they needed time to process everything. I'm good with that. In the end, Liam and I decided to go to the lake. We rented a cabin for a long weekend and simply unplugged from the outside world. The boys adored it. They observed wildlife, gathered rocks, and learned how to skip stones on the lake from Liam. It was just what each of us needed. I've been thinking a lot about family and its true meaning. As a child, I always believed family was something that couldn't be compromised for better or worse. You're stuck with them. However, as I've grown older, I've come to understand that family is actually about who supports you regularly, who embraces you for who you are, who makes an effort to comprehend and assist you. I'm not sure if my parents, Claire, and I will ever get along again. Perhaps one day, if they can show they've truly changed and are prepared to accept my children for who they are. I'm not holding my breath, though, and I'm not putting my life on hold, waiting for it to happen. Something that truly resonated with me was mentioned by someone in the comments section of my last post. You owe nothing to the family you were born into, only to the family you've chosen. I think that's correct. We're just going about our lives for the time being. If nothing significant changes, I doubt I'll update again. Once again, I appreciate your support and for listening. You have no idea how much it helped.